here to talk about something so subtle in our everyday life that it often gets ignored or is considered normal: gender inequality. Now, when gender inequality is spoken about or is thought of and the past is taken into consideration, it often seems like a fight for women's rights. But I truly believe that when gender equality is taken into consideration, it becomes a fight for both men and women. And men are equally as affected by the stereotypes, and their struggles are often neglected. So I would like to welcome you to my TED Talk about gender inequalities. So, when I was a kid, everything was fun, uncomplicated, or so I thought. I really thought I was not a part of any gender roles. So when I turned 6, it was all fun, games, toys. When I turned 8, my parents, teachers, and many important people in my life started telling me to not do certain things, only because I was a girl and not a boy. Playing extreme sports was one of those forbidden activities. I was told to be less outspoken or less authoritative, only because of my gender. Then when I turned 10, I realized that people not only find an empowering personality in a girl unacceptable, they also find physical strength unacceptable, and it is frowned upon. And this is why teachers prefer boys to run around and do tasks that involve heavy lifting. Then I turned 13, and I started noticing that many of my girlfriends started dropping out of sports. And then I asked them why. Because playing sports is manly, and it isn't quite feminine. It would make them appear bulky rather than skinny. It would make them look like a guy. Now that I'm 15, turning 16, I have noticed that many of my guy friends find it really hard to express themselves emotionally. Because if they do, they will get teased or they will be called girls, just for doing something as simple as showing emotions. All of these observations led me to a conclusion. As I grew up, I started noticing things, and I came to a conclusion that everybody is biased when it comes to gender. Claiming that you believe in gender inequality does not mean that you apply it in your life. And that left me thinking about two most important questions. Is it really necessary to be a man in order to be opinionated and relevant enough as to not get silenced? Second, is it really necessary to be a woman in order to show emotions and not get frowned upon and not get judged? And the answer to both the questions is no. Having gender equality is a human right. And when human right comes into consideration, we don't differentiate between men and women because we are all humans here. And the day both genders get equal rights would be the day of ultimate revolution. Now, this is a problem. And the problem starts in the house. The biasness starts in the house. The problem is our upbringing. The main problem is what we are taught to believe in, what we are told to believe in, not what we grow to believe in. That is the problem. It's our upbringing. And since our problem is the upbringing, what we don't realize that so is the solution. The right upbringing leads to a right society and a right mindset. The first step towards the change, towards the ultimate change, would be to stop linking careers with genders. No gender is incapable. No career was made for a gender. There are men who have excelled and made a stamp and made their word in a profession which is dominated by women and vice versa. So here's a representation, here's a graph that shows the difference between wages between the two genders, especially in countries that are said to have no gender inequality, or maybe the least percent of gender inequality, yet there's a difference here. And this is pretty much self-explanatory. So, the second step would be to ignore all sorts of gender stereotypes. If genders, both men and women, put their mind and heart into it, they can do anything. It's all about passion. And they must ignore all sorts of gender stereotypes. What is gender stereotypes? It's nothing. It's just a mental bondage. It's what you believe in. You believe that you cannot do it, but the day you start believing that you can, you will. The third step is for parents. Parents to really support their kids with whatever they want to do. Kids, you might not realize, but kids really care about what their close ones say. And the more you discourage them, the more discouraged they feel. They start believing that they cannot do anything. Around 65% of teens in the world slip into depression only because they were told they could not do anything and they started believing in it. That's a psychological factor that comes into the story. Depression, feeling of being incapable, leads to anxiety. Social anxiety, if I must add too. It truly makes them believe that they do not fit because they maybe see other people conquering things, achieving things, while they cannot. So it is really important for you to restore belief in others so that they can restore belief in themselves. And to end this, I would really like to quote a woman that I look up to, who has been an inspiration. She is also a UN feminist and activist. Her name is Emma Watson, and she said, "That's about time that we start seeing gender as a spectrum rather than two sets of opposing ideals." And I would really like to conclude this with, spread the message of equal opportunities, of equal claims. And I promise that gender equality will not be a thought anymore. It would be a day of revolution. Thank you, everyone. My name is KATHURAI. It was a pleasure speaking.